But this, I think, points to just his sense of entitlement, the sort of element of droit de seigneur that he has. He doesn't sort of think of anyone except his own personal interests. And this is why I think he's found it so hard to make any sort of apology or to show any sort of contrition.
Tonight we are going inside a blunt and very public character assessment of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor that has set royal circles buzzing. A former royal girlfriend has spoken out with remarkable honesty, calling him ignorant, entitled, and convinced the world owes him a favour. These comments come from Susanna Constantine, a well-known television personality who once dated Princess Margaret's son, David Armstrong-Jones. She says she spent time around Andrew, and what she witnessed left a lasting impression. Her words are sharp, they are unfiltered, and they match a pattern seen across decades of behaviour. We will break down what she said, why she said it, and how these fresh remarks add to the growing portrait of a man whose downfall has been both public and dramatic. We will also look at another woman from Andrew's past who predicted his collapse more than 40 years ago with eerie accuracy. If you follow this channel regularly, you know that new details about Andrew's character continue to surface, and none of them are flattering. This story adds another important piece to that puzzle.
For my time now, Prince Philip could be a bit tetchy sometimes and, throw a few expletives at you. The Queen was wonderful, very polite, respectful. Unfortunately, Prince Andrew was totally different. He could fly off the handle at the smallest thing. He would be abusive. He would shout, he would swear.
Susanna Constantine appeared on the podcast Spooning with Mark Wogan, and the discussion turned to her time around the royal family. Wogan asked a simple question. Is the former Duke of York misunderstood? Her response was instant, and it was brutal. She said Andrew is ignorant and entitled. She went further and said he behaves as if the world owes him a favour and that he believes he is above the law. She described that sense of entitlement as the worst trait anyone can have, and she made it very clear she is not a fan. These are not comments made by someone with a grudge or a sensationalist agenda.
So if he has to slow down for a small minute, he would shout out the window, you effing buffoons, and stuff like that. So there was no leeway. If it wasn't done right for him, then he would fly off the handle.
Constantine dated within the royal circle for 6 years. She carried herself carefully during that time, and she remains friendly with her former partner, the 2nd Earl of Snowdon. When someone like that speaks so openly, it grabs attention. She also questioned how Andrew ever managed to earn a helicopter license, saying it is extremely difficult, and pointing out that her own son is in the Royal Navy. She knows how strict the process is. Her remarks suggest she believes he was pushed through doors that would have remained closed for anyone else. That comment hits on a much wider issue that has followed Andrew for decades. The sense that rules did not apply to him. That he expected privilege without responsibility. That he believed access, opportunity, and respect were automatic because of who he was, rather than what he contributed. And of course, that attitude is what eventually caught up with him. Constantine did offer one small note of sympathy. She said growing up as a royal spare must be difficult. You are born into immense wealth and immense privilege, but without a real purpose. Your path is chosen for you. You do not get to build your own identity. Many royal commentators have made this point before, but what is striking is how quickly she shifted back to her main point. No excuse, no circumstance justifies the level of entitlement she witnessed. It is a reminder that even people once close to the family see Andrew's behaviour as something separate from his upbringing, something deeper, something that repeated itself across years and across relationships. In contrast, both she and Wogan praised Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. They described them as sensible, charming, and nice. Constantine said that for the girls to be that grounded, there must be good qualities in their parents somewhere, because raising daughters like that is not easy. That praise highlights the puzzling contradiction at the heart of Andrew's public image. 2 daughters who, for the most part, have been respected for their decency. A father and mother known for arrogance, denial, bad judgment, and a lifetime of scandals.
No, I don't think Andrew has many people on his side. I think Charles gave an undertaking to their mother that he would take care of Andrew, but no one in the royal family likes him. He's made a lot of enemies on the way up. I don't think anyone in the palace likes him.
Now we turn to another voice from Andrew's past, one that shows how deeply rooted his behaviour really was. Decades before the scandals erupted, a woman who knew him in the early 80s warned that his attitude would catch up with him. Her name was Vicki Hodge, a glamorous actress and model who crossed paths with Andrew in Barbados in 1983. Older, more experienced, and far more worldly, she spotted red flags almost instantly. According to biographer Andrew Lowney, her first impressions were far from flattering. She recalled Andrew launching into endless jokes that were not funny. Jokes he thought were clever because he liked the sound of his own voice. When they met the following day, he was swimming in the sea without a stitch of clothing, everything on display. Her description painted a picture of a young man who craved attention and behaved without boundaries. They went on to have a 10-day romance. She said he was immature, full of himself, flirtatious, and convinced of his own charm. He even told her he loved her, then vanished the moment he sailed away. No call, no letter, nothing. Only weeks later, she spoke to the mirror and delivered a quote that now feels astonishingly accurate. She said Andrew was headstrong and refused to listen to advice unless it suited him. She said he needed someone strong enough to stop him from getting into escapades that would embarrass himself and the royal family. Her words read like a prophecy. No one knew then that decades later, he would be entangled in the Epstein scandal, stripped of his honours, removed from public life, and viewed internationally as a liability to the monarchy.
He is regular old Andrew, Pete, and we're going to have to get pretty used to calling him Andrew from now on very quickly, because this stripping of his prince title is effective immediately.
Yet her description fits the pattern perfectly. A man unwilling to learn, unwilling to listen, unwilling to recognise consequences until it was too late. These two women, from two completely different times in Andrew's life, describe the same traits: entitlement, ignorance, arrogance, immaturity, a refusal to listen, a belief that rules did not apply to him. Their accounts blend seamlessly with what former staff members, biographers, and insiders have said for years. Stories of tantrums, rudeness, lewd jokes, pranks aimed at humiliating women, lavish spending, questionable travel. A long trail of behaviour that always seemed to push boundaries simply because he believed he could. And that is what makes these new comments from Susanna Constantine so striking.
And I mean, I've got countless stories of Andrew requesting girls when he went on taxpayer-funded trips.
Do you mean women? Sorry, just to be clear on the ages that you're talking about.
Well, should we say young women?
Andrew's behaviour at private parties has been described by multiple witnesses as crude, juvenile, and almost always aimed at women. Former guests recall him using humiliation as entertainment, turning social gatherings into stages for pranks that left people shocked rather than amused. One example involved Andrew creeping up behind a well-known woman and unzipping her dress in front of the room, treating it like a party trick. Other accounts describe him shoving a young guest's face into a plate of food while laughing, as if the embarrassment were the whole point. The pattern stretched from his late teens through adulthood. Staff and attendees say Andrew thrived on pushing boundaries and seeing how far he could go, especially when surrounded by younger women who were unlikely to challenge him. Witnesses have described crude jokes, physical pranks, and behaviour that would be unthinkable from any ordinary person, let alone a member of the royal family. The most telling detail repeated across accounts is that he never seemed embarrassed or apologetic. He enjoyed being the centre of attention, even when it came at someone else's expense. These stories underline the broader picture of a man whose immaturity and disregard for others were visible long before his later scandals became public. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor once lived a life built on privilege, access, and unearned favour. Today, he faces the consequences of that life. He has no public role, he has no titles. He remains under pressure to leave Royal Lodge. New stories continue to surface from people who knew him, and each one paints the same picture. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you want continuous coverage on the royal scandals unfolding behind the scenes, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. More chapters are coming, and I will cover every one of them. Thank you for watching.